Hello there, this is Mr. Benji, your favorite tutor, and in this tutorial, I continue solving problems in freshman psychology on the topic of scientific design. Okay? Well, it's treating psychology as a scientific discipline. Okay. This question, a behavioral researcher would be most likely to observe a positive correlation between. So, to begin with, let's consider topics of behavior. Okay, topics of behavior. When it comes to behavior, behavioral researchers, this is what they look at. They look at behaviors. They look at how people think, how people feel, and how people act. Okay? Now, consider option A. Positive correlation between poverty and physical health. Well, given what we know as a society, an increase in poverty tends to decrease physical health. Okay, an increase in poverty, which that is also to say, relatively speaking, people in poverty would not have access to as many kinds of resources or as much as any one kind of resource to invest in their physical well-being, to invest in their health. Okay, so it's more likely, it is actually more likely that the relationship between poverty and physical health is a negative correlation. A negative correlation, that is to say, nope, A is not a very good answer. What about option B? Option B, class attendance and athletic achievement. Class attendance and athletic achievement. Maybe there is a positive correlation. Okay, one can argue if class attendance increases, and let's just say if class attendance correlates with academic performance, and academic performance for those of them for students who are high achieving. Okay, it's very possible that there is a positive correlation between class attendance and athletic achievement. But then again, we can also argue for students, okay, for school students in K to 12, for example, for them to achieve high levels of athletic achievement, it also entails spending more time practicing their sport. Do you see? Spending more time practicing their sport. That is to say, there is a possibility too, with limited finite amount of time, good chunk of it being needed to spend on practicing their athletic abilities. Well, then in that situation, class attendance would foreseeably decrease. So again, in terms of likelihood, it's both directions, both a positive correlation and a negative correlation. They're both somewhat equally likely. That's at least what I'm thinking in my mind. However, of course, option B compared to option A is a slightly better answer. How about if we give it a half a check mark for now? Okay. Well, what about option D? School grades and school absences. Well, there are students who accumulate high levels, okay, high amounts of school absences and achieve high school grades, but again, we would have to conclude that the likelihood is not as high as a negative, okay, again, a negative correlation between the two. Okay, so if we were to compare option D with options A and B, still, option B it's got a slight advantage over both A and D. What about E? Self-esteem and depression. And it's actually been established, and in later chapters, further into your freshman psychology training, you will get to see increasing levels of documentation, increasing levels of evidence pointing to self-esteem and depression being negatively correlated. Okay. Again, this is also another example of negative correlation. So then we'll have to, it's almost by default that we must fully consider how we would most probably see a positive correlation between academic success and intelligence quotient. In fact, intelligence quotient, IQ, okay, IQ has, in the majority of cases, in an overwhelming majority of cases, been a fairly reliable predictor of academic success. Not always, not always, just because people score, for example, 135 on an IQ test does not necessarily entail that they achieve high levels of academic success, but the correlation holds, okay? The positive correlation holds. So there you go. C is the best answer. Consider now this question. Random sampling is to something as random assignment is to. Now, quick review. Random sampling. By random sampling, we're referring to the process of recruiting participants in which every member from a population has an equal chance to be selected. This is what random means. This is what random, the issue of randomness mean. Okay? So that's random sampling. Now, random assignment, again, it has to do with participants being assigned to specific groups, they also run an equal chance of being selected to the groups that are available. Okay, I repeat, random assignment refers to every individual involved having equal chance of being selected to however each of the number of groups. If we're selecting participants into two groups, equal chances of getting selected into one of the two. If there are three groups, equal opportunity to be selected into one of the three groups. Okay, so let's take a look at the responses there. Consider option B, replication, correlation. They don't quite make sense, right? They don't quite make sense. I can easily argue the vice versa, random sampling to correlation, random assignment to replication. It's just not exactly an answer that makes a whole lot of sense. Okay. Option C. What about option C? When we use questionnaires, then we conduct random sampling, and random assignment is to testing conditions. Now, this is not exactly a wrong answer per se. But again, testing conditions, they do not refer to a particular kind of design. And random assignment to particular groups, well, they entail information around a specific design. Description, prediction, under option D, random sampling is to description. If description is correct, which can be, then random assignment would have to be is to some other idea relevant to the kind of category that the word description belongs. Description, again, the three levels of research that you've learned in this chapter: description, correlation, as well as experimentation. Description is the level of design involving the least amount of restraints or constraints. In correlational studies versus case study, random sampling is to correlational studies, well, which actually is possible, as random assignment is to case studies. Again, the connection is just not clear. Now, the best answer right here, option A, let's take a look. Random sampling is to surveys, where we survey individuals, a study that in which we allow for the least level of bias, we might want to use a randomized procedure to sample, to bring people in from the population. Okay, so randomly selecting participants into the research group to participate in surveys. That's not a bad answer at all. And and random assignment is to experiments. Now this makes high level of sense because by definition the experiment entails a minimum of two groups. What are these two groups, you ask? There is the experimental group we actually also refer to the experimental group as the treatment group because this is the group that experiences the treatment. And the other group, for comparison's sake, is the control group. Okay? That is to say, the group of participants randomly recruited to participate in an experiment, they will also be then at some point randomly assigned to one of the two groups, the experimental group as well as the control group, for comparison's sake, for comparison of the results. Consider the next question here. 8 members of the community's Girl Guides reported the following individual earnings from their sale of cookies. Okay, so we've got their respective earnings, and right off the bat, reading the question up until this point, you should be able to identify a couple of pieces of information. Number one, we've got 8 members of the community Girl Guides. Okay, 8 members. And to indicate these 8 members, we will use the symbol n. Okay, n equals 8. Okay, that's the n refers to the size of the sample. In this situation, 8 members. Okay, 8 individuals. Their respective earnings: $5, $2, $3, etc., 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 etc. Now, you scour the question in this distribution of individual earnings. What are we asking for? We're asking for the mean. We're asking for the mean. How do you know? How do we know? Well, we know this is about the mean because in almost every option there is the word mean. So we need to be thinking about the mean. Mean, what is the mean? The mean is the arithmetic average. So the mean, again, is the arithmetic average of all the scores involved, of all of the data involved. In this situation, we've got 8 pieces of data. Okay, 8 pieces of data. So it's asking us to figure out the mean, essentially. Now, there are various different statements describing what the mean is. Let's just cross-check very, very quickly by doing some calculations, by analyzing the distribution here. And by the way, a distribution is a set of numbers. Here, the distribution involves 8 separate numbers. And the distribution are as follows: $5, $2, $3, $7, $13, $9, $8, and $3. To the question, we're comparing the values of the mean, the mode, and the median. So let's figure out the mean to begin with. The mean, essentially, again, is we're adding all of these various different dollar amounts and dividing the total by 8. And essentially, it is the total divided by n to figure out the mean. The total is $50. If you add up the numbers 5, 2, 3, 4, 13, 9, 8, and 3, $3 showing up twice. What we have is the mean is $6.25. What about the mode? The mode by definition is the most frequently occurring number, and in this situation, the mode very, very clearly is, when you look at the distribution, 3 shows up twice and all the other numbers, they show up once. The mode, $3. What about the median? What about the median? The median, to determine what the median is, we need to take the situation through at least 2 steps. The first is to line the numbers up. Okay? The first is to line the numbers up. Now, this is how we should line the number up from the smallest to the largest. And in order to figure out the median of an even number of numbers, and being a negative, an even number, we need to first of all look up the 2 middle numbers, 5 and 7. We add 5 and 7, which we obtain the number 12. Divide number 12 by 2. Therefore, the median is the number 6. Okay? So, then, E is the only conclusion. The mean is greater than the mode and greater than the median. Okay? It is greater than the mode and greater than the median. Not A, because A says mean is equal to the mode and less than the median, which is not the case. Option B, mean is less than the mode and less than the median, which is, well, also not the case. C, mean is greater than the mode and equal to the median. The answer again is no. The mean clearly is not the same as the median. Okay? There's 25 cents apart in terms of numeric value. D, none of the statements are correct. Well, if option E is not there, then D would be the correct answer. Let's take a look at E again. Mean is greater than the mode and greater than the median. I'm just going to quickly highlight for you what we're getting at. Option E again one more time. What we're saying is that the mean numeric value of 6.25 is greater than the mode as well as the median. Okay? Hope this tutorial helps. Nothing is in the way for you to rewatch this tutorial and gain further clarity and mastery of the subject matter. More of such will be made available in the foreseeable future. Hit the like button and the subscribe button to stay up to date of quality tutorials that can help you succeed in your studies. You've been watching Mr. Benji at Mr. Benji Now on YT. I'm a college instructor in Vancouver, BC, Canada. Until next time.